for granted that, this is early July. All kinds of Facebook have early like not by election day. So, you go with your, I assume you genuinely need arguments about elections, that would be right, but at the end of the day, to actually no, I don't think it will impact the election.
I have a really simple question. What do you think about...
Before we rebuttal, let's hear from all the disagreeers, then we can jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I'll build on that. I think we're too far out from the election for people's memories to retain it. It's less than 4 months. Well, anyway, the point is, we're trying to move so quickly that people are in the 4 or 5 things. Hold on. 4 or 5 things are going to happen between now and then that overshadow this. And the saddest thing that I'll say in conclusion is we're hard into gun violence. This really wasn't that big of a deal in the end. Sadly, I hate to say it, when a guy dying in the crowd, ex-president of the United States, nicked in the ear by a bullet, should be a big deal. But gun violence is so prevalent in America that people are going to start this off. Watching TV, nobody will be talking about this.
Do you think gang violence in Chicago is the same as the former president of the United States almost being murdered? You're saying that shootings happen all the time. So do you think that the common gun violence is the same as the former president? No, I think
What kind of he's 1 year old, he went to school, he was alone. Like everybody's all these been saying they knew him. That's like he didn't say treatment as any other mass shooter.
Wait, really quick, I have a really quick question.
Because he hasn't asked questions.
I just want to say, what's your name?
Guy.
It's a good name, Guy. You said people don't forget about their speech. You know what memes are, right?
Sure.
You don't think Donald Trump raising his fist being shot will be a meme that lives longer than all of us combined?
No.
What do you think that'll be?
I don't think it was that iconic. I think you guys are blowing it a lot of
That's fine. That's what he's saying.
Wait, so what happened?
What do you think about your guy?
I was. By the way, he's not saying he told. He said coming to him.
Can you clarify it? There's some points where all of this is going to start boiling over, right? There are people on my side that get very violent, that get very vitriolic with their comments, right? I went to LA, and I'm seeing that we have a lot of people who get very in their mind about their politics, about wanting to protect Gaza, about wanting to make sure that their voices are heard from the left and the Democratic Party. The same thing happens with you guys, though. So we have extremists on both sides that are going to at some point boil it over their head. Because I want it.
Why would you wish death on him? He doesn't wish death.
I never wish death on him.
You said you hope so. You hope something happens.
But what is that something? I hope that there's some sort of political boilover, right? Where everything like there's going to be some kind of civil war. There's going to be some kind of like interstate violence.
So you're hoping to
I hope that we break the point. I hope that we break the dam where we don't have to keep fighting about policies and whether or not we have to fear the theorists in government. I hope that we get to the point
What have you learned?
with all of it, and we can get through this antebellum era.
They will not escape. There could still be more survivors. With me, champion!
No.
As a Republican, I have, in my life, I've talked to thousands of people a day. I have never heard a Republican ever say they want Biden to die, okay? I have.
Damn it.
Whoa, this is my
Cut through
opinion,
the sewers and
okay?
find
It's not
Cano.
your opinion, it's mine.
Glad to see you haven't evacuated
I'm sure
yet.
you have, and I'm sure that's
The
normal,
Nerubians
and
are capturing the rogues who live down here. Let's rescue them.
Okay? I've talked to thousands of people a day, and my friends are Republicans. I've never heard a Republican I know personally with death or Biden to not be president anymore, okay? Today I woke up, I mean, let's just talk about the past 8 years. Everyone on the left wishes that was on Trump. That's not
I just want to I don't like Biden at all, but I felt very sad when he fell off his bicycle.
Yeah, I feel bad for him. Elder, if
I will help if I can.
I'm just telling you, I felt
We
sad
have
for him.
lost
I'm
so
sorry.
many.
back order to get away from the point, but that's
That bicycle. I was like, that's our president.
I know, I'm dead serious. I felt that.
Aren't you impressed he's riding a bike at 80 years old?
Okay.
He's not riding it. Wait, time out. Time out.
Okay,
He's not
okay.
riding it.
No,
He's
hold on.
falling over on it. That's
All right.
it. He was riding it.
Back to the bicycles.
He fell over on it.
That's why I know we're gonna
That's
wrap
the
up this
opposite
problem.
of riding.
All right, we're wrapping up this problem because we got to bicycles. A convicted felon should not become president. Will the agreeers please step forward?
12 strangers came off the street, New York City, came together and ruled unanimously, looking at the facts, being as honest as they can be, that this guy was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And I think we have so many qualified people to be president of the United States that we don't have to have somebody who has that sort of record. And also, he might be in prison. People find that laughable, but those are the same people who thought he would never be indicted, same people who thought they would never raid his home. So I think America can do better.
You know, I think as an abstract rule, there's no reason to back somebody who is a felon, even if we don't think they deserved it, to be president. There are hundreds of millions of us. We're the richest, most diverse nation in the history of the world. We have more experience with democracy than any other existing democracy. There's just no need for that. And I think what I suspect our friends on the other side are going to come and suggest is that, there's, it's not fair to him, he's being unjustly persecuted and all that jazz. If a Democrat that I thought was great, were unjustly, in my view, persecuted, found guilty, I would also be someone who stood up and said, I don't care if I thought you didn't do it. You're a felon now. We have other people. There are so many people on the Republican side who are talented and capable and would be great presidents. There's no reason to stick to the one who has a loyal, but a minority of the population base that is hardcore about it. I kill you! That would be great presidents. I think, like Nikki Haley, for instance, would be a great president by comparison. By
We
comparison,
will find Zalatan. She cannot hide from me. There could still be more survivors. With me, champion!
Much better politicians than Trump. Trump is not a politician by any means. So there's a lot more qualifying people in the GOP that should take over that position.
Damn it!
We should not have a felon be able to run
Cut
for
through the
president.
sewers and
Kind of
find
embarrassing,
Cano.
actually.
Glad to see you haven't evacuated yet.
I missed the
Yeah.
rock.
The Nerubians are capturing the rogues who live down here.
Republican.
Let's rescue them.
Classical, because at this point, like, that's what Republicans were. That's what they are supposed to be. At this point, the GOP has been like overtaken by a lot of classical rhetoric. And it's dilutes every single mechanism they have for making an effective president. The question is whether or not they would have agreed if Trump wasn't like if there was a criminal prosecution, if there was a case about punishment or whatever, and there was no chance of him becoming a felon, they probably would still come up here and agree. I'm reminded of Al Franken, who was one of the most popular Democratic senators when he was in office. He was one of the best messengers for the Democratic Party.
What can I do?
And widely considered a talented, capable, and accomplished senator. But decades prior, he did some embarrassing things, and the Democrats pushed him out of the Senate. Honestly, Democrats, we eat our own all the time. It's a problem we have, but we do have a record of many people who have a problematic reputation from it's a thing that we do. So, at the end of the day, I think there's a big difference between you think this person is a criminal but they're not convicted versus this person's a convicted criminal. Those are not the same thing, and there's a false equivalence, I think, awaiting us in the wings on this.
I'm going to bring on the disagreeer.
A friend once showed me a path through here. Head to that sewer grate.
Sure.
My ex used to say that to me.
Yeah.
The exit should be on the right.
First of all, you said that you actually potentially were wrong and apologized about some things, so amazing. I wish people I used to be friends with would just say, hey, like, Emily, maybe you were right about a couple things, and I
And
would take
here's
them
our
back with
exit.
open arms because it's like,
I will
understand.
always try.
Okay.
Who is calling for
The
help?
idea of being like, we're the moral party after
I'll get them to safety.
You two
Try to find
specifically
Khadgar.
are very excited about assassination. It's just the funniest thing in the world to me. Nikki Haley is a Democrat. We all know that. That's probably why you guys are more inclined to maybe like her.
She cheated on her husband.
And other than that, it is.
Supposedly.
Other than that, it is funny to sit here and be like, I miss the good old politicians. Like, the Clintons, who everyone just ends up dead around them. Obama, who committed many war crimes and loved, carpet bombing children. And, when he's not getting blown in the White House, all these really great people we used to have in office. Of course, I think there's a complete double standard.
Nobody said any of what you just said.
Who has something on the prompt specifically about the
Well, first of all, you
convicted felons should
you
our
guys are
president?
obviously very racist for saying that because 1/3 of all black African American men have a felony conviction.
Are we gonna just, is it okay for people to throw out the racist word?
High in the sky and nowhere to flee. Gather all you can find. Bring them the lead. Zalatath has plans for it.
I would love to go into that.
Let's try to avoid an attack.
I'm not trying to push my
Well, I'm saying that I get
worse, but it's too much, and you need to be a little more respectful of other people.
Okay, but still, you might still be racist. I don't know you that well. My point is,
Delectable. What a waste to capture you.
that's,
Well, and
There you are, champion.
funny that he was almost killed. Political violence. Wait. 1 second.
Legend with a hammer by an
Emily. Stop. You were
wasn't almost killed.
I have a question.
I don't want
You
anyone.
just made a claim. You just made a claim that we said nothing about
take that back,
I'm glad you're here. Take this portal down to Kazalgar. Those who escape will still need help.
claim that we said that
Inciting
was
a
okay.
riot.
When did somebody say that?
Because you are attacking us. No, we did not explicitly
You said
say
you
that.
wanted something to happen.
Yeah.
And then
That doesn't mean I want him to die. Yeah, it's
Because
smart.
it's so vague, you could include an attack.
That
on a
could be
person.
me just saying I want him to lose. I don't want him to be an officer.
Okay,
I don't have the balls.
Obviously, people can go back into the video, but let's stick on to the prompt right now, specifically about should a convicted felon be able to become president? You haven't spoken. Did you want to say something on that?
Yeah. So,
Proudmore, over here!
I don't think
I found them!
it's justifiable. Again, when they say
I'll
you
get these
incite
rocks off
violence,
you.
I would wait for one
Just let
person
me-
to violence. When we said peacefully in protest, peacefully and patriotically, that is complete peace. That's peace. And when it says anyone who supports me, stop. Don't riot. Don't hunt. Don't crash.
Champion, to me. Together, we are strong.
I think that was not reality. And I think if someone supports him and they did that, they're not support. Because he's the one asking them.
I will do what I can. I know. We have to push forward or we'll be slaughtered.
Rescue who you can along the way. Your chosen soldiers! Destroy them!
That is
Hey, you! Give out these antidotes! I'm cutting venom sacks fast as I can!
It's because my mom is going to terrorist watch me for being there doing her job. She was there doing her job.
I
friends that I have also who are
Dagon,
in jail.
are you all right?
Yes. Thanks to Grandad teaching me stone form. Who is he? We've got to find him.
Dagon, wait!
Is it possible, hon? Is it possible? Is there normal possibilities that Donald Trump's political opponents weaponize the justice system against
You there! Help me stabilize this portal, quickly!
No.
Excellent! My arcane guardians will hold this area. Help the others!
Why is that not possible? Okay, is it possible that they could? Sure. Is it possible that his convictions so far and the other things he's charged with are that? No.
Why is that impossible?
Because it's verifiably, provably things that he did. I mean, it would be look. If I murdered somebody and he murdered somebody, but people at the Justice Department hate me and not him, and they prosecute me and not him, I still murder. It doesn't matter if it doesn't. So the felony conviction doesn't matter. No, I'm saying if it does, it's not about whether it
Always stinks. Get moving. I'll take care of the wounded here.
That proves the point.
Kill you! Yeah, I'm not being convicted of it now.
The conviction is just saying that it doesn't matter if you're convicted or not.
No, what I'm saying is if I were convicted and resulted in convicting the law, I'm still guilty. I still deserve to be convicted. That's what I'm saying.
Well, do you guys justify it?
Silence! No, not really. I kill you! I don't think he's guilty. I think he's convicted for trafficking. He hasn't been charged. But not yeah, exactly.
Right, that's a good point.
Well, if there was evidence.
Strength, honor.
Like you guys, like you, I think the justice system isn't always fair as well. I think that politics gets involved.
I cannot.
Thank you, champion. I got the wool pulled over my eyes. Literally.
Oh, much better. Now, use this scroll. These relics must be destroyed before they overload.
Like I said, I think the justice system is fair.
But it's not the just what might be called but these are close creatures. They're jurors looking at the evidence and then deciding beyond a reasonable doubt that he's guilty of the crime.
I don't know if you've ever met the average American, but think about the stupidest person you know, and the average, and then go lower than that.
I'm not sure I understand.
There are plenty of people in this country that I do not trust. 100%.
You know that in Manhattan, these are people who earn a lot of money, usually the higher type.
How much money do you have?
These are successful people.
Has 12 jurors ever got it wrong?
From Cano for Azeroth.
The Alliance will endure. A single spark can set...
Jaina, Thrall! We need help. Magni's in trouble.
Anduin, you're alive!
Follow me! Magni can't hold off Xerix much longer.
We'll hold the line. Champion, help Magni.
So you could say that maybe he did it behind his back. Which should have made him not guilty. Now, you don't agree with that, but I think that's fair.
Father for my ascension. Die in Ansoret's name.
Come and get some, you titanous bastard!
We're not doing that.
We are.
The law
Do
is
you
not doing
require aid?
Gay marriage.
I have work to do. The edicts mandate that I defend the core way. I must return to Dornegal.
It's more important to speak with the people who don't believe it than the people that you do.
But the marriage is there, very much there for the baby.
But then why would you deny children in a gay family to have those protections? Because there are tons of them. So I'm sure the comment section is going to go crazy here, but here we go. Keeping it real with Jillian Michaels.
Hey, Matt Walsh.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
So no secret, just to preface, you and I were talking a little bit before we started recording, and we don't have a lot in common. We differ on many things, but I really appreciate the fact that you would show up and look for the common ground that we do have, and be willing to have a conversation about the things that we don't agree on, and that means the world to me. So I respect you so much for that, and I appreciate it. And I want to start out with your new documentary that I watched twice until my link expired, because I was only going to show it to my mom. I first watched it, then watched it with my wife, and I was going to watch it with my mom, called Am I a Racist? So let's just start with, what made you make this documentary?
Before this, I've been in the podcasting space, but it's like the daily podcast, and you put in the podcasting space, the whole deal is you just, especially if it's a daily podcast, you're talking about news of the day, and you put the show out, and by tomorrow nobody cares anymore because it's the news has changed. And then it was just kind of like, well, what's the next big area in the culture where there's that we should investigate? And we thought, well, race is sort of the obvious one. You've got gender and you've got race, and then it was really a question of how do you get into it? Like how do you approach it? Where's the entry point? It's a big topic. It's a broad topic.
You did a great job with it, though.
Well, I appreciate that.
I'll be honest, you did a fantastic job, and I'm not going to take anything away. Obviously, we want people to go see it, but it is something very scary, and you tackled it brilliantly, in my opinion. But please go on. So, yeah, an entry point is tough and scary.
Right. How do you get into it? How do you kind of decide what aspect of it to investigate, really? And so we wanted to really look at the kind of the race hustle grifters, the so-called anti-racists, the EI types. And because it seems to me that whatever kind of racial tension people are feeling in society, a lot of it is because of these people, that they want the tension to be there, they want the resentment, the suspicion, all that kind of stuff, guilt, everything that gets wrapped up into it. And that's what we wanted to target. That's what we wanted to expose with the film. And we decided the best way to do it was to take kind of this satirical approach where a little bit of a curveball, and we decided that, well, I'll start by asking questions, but rather than remaining skeptical, I'm going to believe whatever these people tell me. I'll just accept it, and I'll try to put it into practice. And so we'll let them guide me on this journey. I'll believe everything they say, I'll put it into practice, and we'll go down the rabbit hole, and we're not going to really know exactly where that leads us. Because we don't know what they're going to say exactly. And I think it kind of leads to some pretty wild and dark places, but also I hope fun.
It was, I did not have you as this reinvented Borat on my bingo card. Not to pick up a saying that's been thrown around quite too much this year, but I was dying laughing. It was absurd. The thing that struck me is what I have experienced in my own life regarding these things you're tackling. And if I could get on a soapbox for a second, because it's like, well, why would Jillian want to talk about this? I grew up in Los Angeles. I appreciated, and obviously, you look at a magazine cover when you're a kid, you're kind of conditioned to notice that most people on magazine covers are white, and that there might be one black girl. But as you get older, and you start to become more aware, it's like, well, there was the Cosby Show. I didn't realize it was just the Cosby Show as a kid. But as you get older, you start to make changes. And I thought that my generation, our
injustices, these imbalances, and they sort of naturally, and this could be my own ignorance, they naturally get and we had power, supreme medicine, entertainment, law, and I thought we were in a pretty good place prior to 2020, and I adopted a child from Haiti, not because I wanted to adopt a black child, as though she was a handbag. Stated to me, like, oh, it's China, so you wanted to adopt a black child. It just happened to be the only country I could adopt from internationally because it was open, whereas China's closed, Russia closed. And I did want to give a child the opportunity to become an American citizen, because I figured if you're coming from a part of the world that's, we'll call it developing, but the reality is we both know what it is. There's no shock. I wanted to give a kid a shot that didn't have a shot. So a lot of people made little racist comments like that when I first adopted her, but they were few and far between. They died out, and I watched this child live a great life, and I never saw any racism towards her ever. 2020 comes, and all of a sudden, I'm a white savior. Myself and everybody white, complicit in racism. I'm watching my child now take on far more aggression and hostility than I've ever seen her contend with prior. Race relations with my friends of color became tense.
The Coreway.
And I was seeing posts on social media about
I
how
have
if white people
failed
own
in my
everything,
oath-sworn duty.
responsibility for everything, and I thought to myself, like,
Drive back the Nerubians around the Coreway. I will handle the ones farther in.
here's what really triggered me. So I went to work with him at He's in part Syrian. And this was at a time when Syrian children were like washing up on beaches. And I thought, this is horrific. What can I do to make a difference? So I go work with him. And they say,
They are retreating. Well executed, Outlander. Now, I believe you and your friends have much to discuss.
The next thing I know,
Fly high. Strike true.
We brought the Nerubians here.
and everybody's like, oh God, you can't have
No,
people after
the
you like this.
Nerubians were focused on the
Destroy your
Coreway.
career.
The attack was
Sorry
another
for
part of
reaching out.
Zalatath's scheme.
Mea culpa, like tell me what, what is the issue? A white girl from the Midwest gets on the phone with me. You have to make a donation. And then proceeds to tell me how she's protecting black people in Africa from other white people. And I'm like, aren't you the ultimate white savior then? So you have to make a donation.
Azeroth calls.
And then so a white
We
person
must.
engaging in this, nobody black runs the organization.
So much chaos and destruction.
Really question
We have to regroup.
what's going on.
Has anyone seen Khadgar?
Then it was suggested that I read White Fragility by Rob D'Angelo, which I found.
We will be back. And we will be ready.
And then,
Be vigilant. I will check on my people, the Oathsworn, while you clear the rubble.
Discuss and how to interact.
Edicts guide you.
And then you came out with this. And I thought, first of all, can we talk about the reason behind this? You start racking up the numbers of how much you have to pay for all these coaches, and can you talk about that a little bit? Like, is this corruption? What is this?
Yeah, that's one decision we made while we were making the film. We kind of knew that we wanted to be pretty transparent about what went into actually making the film, because that's part of the story that we're telling. And part of the reason making a movie like this apparently is that if you want to talk to these people, you got to pay them, which is interesting because you would think, we're talking about race. You would think that this is their passion, this is what they care about the most in life, and you'd think that they just would be
Moss
willing to
grow
sit down and have a
over
conversation
us.
like we are right now.
Survivors
But
from
what we
the
found with most of
beach.
these people is,
If
yeah,
they
I'll
are
talk to you,
truly
yeah.
allies, perhaps
I won't
all
even
is not
talk much with
lost.
you unless you fork over thousands of dollars.
Go where the edict. Nerubians everywhere. Look out!
It was
We're not very
Odin.
happy with how
I
it all
knew
turned out for
him.
them in the film, but then again,
His
you know,
memory
we
will
didn't,
be preserved.
deceptively edited. We didn't put words in their mouth.
Thank you.
Create a, you know,
Keep the
we
device.
depict exactly what they said.
You
we
may
did.
find use of it if you
So all of
find
that is
more
completely
memory
honest and above board,
gems.
but, yeah, it's all
Dagrin,
for them.
this seems like a place you'd be
You know,
keen to
there's kind of-
explore.
when it comes to the
I'll be back
racial,
for you when I know it's safe.
How long has Dornegal been here?
Unknown. Our archive would contain that information, but as I said, it is non-functioning.
And then there's
The entire isle is under attack. Praise the Titans, you ask. Were it not for the Storm Riders, the city may have fallen. We need the Council's direction.
Tale as old as time, right, in a lot of ways.
We're glad you
What's maybe more
comply.
interesting is
Follow
what
me
about
down
the
to the
people?
archive
They're
and
not
I'll
there.
show you
They're
what
not
Dagrin and I have been working on.
You know, we do things in the film like we go
My
and,
directive
we go
has
to
been
the
beds are
race
scarce. We have resorted to using the proscenium as a field hospital.
So many injured. What can I do?
Magni, how are you feeling?
How I look, to be honest. The shine has worn off of me. And of this speaker nonsense.
Nonsense.
These earthen, they're a funny lot. Odd traditions, superstitions.
What do you mean?
Oh, you know, titans, edicts, Thragar.
Some of them have been calling me Arathi, like the ancient human empire. I wonder how they know of it.
I heard that too. I don't know what to make of it. The Earthen are also an ancient people. They might be just remembering ghosts.
This is how white women talk to us all the time.
But it seems like the Arathi were here, recently. Why would the Earthen have an inn with proper food and beds if they don't need them?
Do you think the Arathi are here, somewhere in Kazalga?
You just spoke to me was
I don't see how.
I'm not about to leave the Isle of Dorne unexplored. I have a reputation to uphold. Keep your eyes on the horizon. The truth is out there.
be a part of this. It's
Travel
white
safe.
women and then this Indian woman and a black woman who are running. And so the interesting thing to me is like, okay, I understand that the two women running it, they get paid thousands of dollars and they get a free meal, and they get to just insult the people at the table. They get paid for it. I can kind of understand what motivates them. It's evil, but I understand. What about the women at the table who are paying for this really unpleasant, miserable experience? That to me is a little bit more interesting. And
Feel absolved?
I think that's part of it. I think that some of it is virtue signaling. I think some of it is signaling to their social group that they're enlightened and progressive, and they want to be able to tell their friends that, oh, I did a race to dinner, and it was an eye-opening experience. That's some of it. But I also think that they are true believers, and so they do think that they're getting something out of it. And
we are the Titan's bedrock and foundation.
I think that it's like they're carrying around guilt, and all people have guilt because we've all done bad things, and so we feel guilty about it, and that's natural. But they have the guilt; they don't understand where it comes from in their lives, and they're very confused. And then these grifters come and say, "Well, I'll tell you why you have those feelings. It's because you're white."
There we go.
And here's what you can do to atone for
Batteries
your
in
sins. Pay me $5,000
and supplying power.
And then they do
Let's
it,
see what
and
this
then
thing knows.
afterwards, the grifters say, well,
Blast it
thanks
all
for
to the
money. By
nether.
way, sorry, you're still racist.
What's the problem, Dagrin?
Nothing's been solved.
The machine...
All these discs are cracked or broken.
You can manage it.
We'll need more disc fragments if we're to get anything useful out of this machine.
I suppose that's where our friend comes in.
The way that they sell it is this racism is like this inherent disease if you're white, and it can never be cured. It can only be managed. So there can be treatments to like tamp down the racism, but you're always going to have it. But that means you got to keep paying because there can't be a cure. They can never say, okay, well, all right, if you did this and you do that and you do that, then you're probably not racist anymore. If they say that, then they've lost. They've lost you as a customer. You're not a repeat customer. So they want to have, it's like the iPhone. You want to keep coming back for the upgrade. that's what they want.
Communication initiated.
People that,
I have calibrated my
they
prices
talk about
to
things
be
like systemic
reasonable.
racism. And systemic racism is unfalsifiable. And what I mean is that there's
May
nothing
rook nor
they
round
claim that
take
systemic
you
racism
far.
exists in America. There's literally nothing that could ever happen that would disprove the existence of systemic racism. If you ask them, if you accept their premise and say, okay, America's systemically racist, what needs to happen for it to no longer be systemic? What do you need to see so that you will be confident that systemic racism is not a thing anymore? And they won't answer that because it's unfalsifiable.
What if I play devil's advocate? Because I do see certain areas where I think there's injustice, but I don't think it's your white neighbor who is complicit in being racist because they're fragile or whatever the hell the narrative is. If I look at my industry, which is of course health, right? I see injustices there. Like the food companies do target
Time
what
is of
color
the
to
essence.
One, I see them being targeted. I know that they don't feel, and I don't want to speak for a black person here, and I wish I had a friend who's explained this to me, but they feel that they have had different
My directive is to serve you.
doctors and medical experts over the years. They haven't gotten the same care. Doctors don't believe that this is a sweeping generalization, but this is what I've been told. They don't believe that a black woman is in pain when she's in pain, but they're more inclined to believe a white woman. Horror stories like
My
that.
thanks for your patronage.
Do you think there's something there? Like, I think, or like say sentences, right? A black person gets a different sentence than a white person. I tend to buy that. You think I don't buy that one.
I can't say that I do buy it, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Do you have a
We're talking about
query?
systemic. So if an individual says, I had a negative experience, I went to the doctor, and they were rude, and you know, I needed pain meds, and they didn't give it to me. Who am I to tell them they didn't have that experience? I wasn't there, right? I can't say that it didn't happen.
Right.
And so if an individual person, a black woman, were to say that she had that experience, I believe it. You know, that kind of thing does happen, sure. The problem is the interpretation. The problem is saying, well, I had this individual experience, and therefore it is evidence that there is a system-wide, deliberate conspiracy to mistreat me because of the color of my skin. That's the part where I don't track it, because you're going to need a lot more evidence than that.
What about like the studies that have shown, statistically speaking, more black women die in childbirth, or there was a book called, I think it was called like The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, and it had
My directive is to
how
serve
they
you.
had really mistreated this black woman who had cancer.
Return
Had to do with this
and
type of cancer.
peruse
The
my
long story short is there's a history of it in healthcare.
The eternal titans sculpt your path.
We evolve out of it. 'Cause there's
Very
one question,
well. You are dismissed.
one black
Then it
woman,
seems
one
long
black
past
family
time
on
you
TV
stood
show.
united.
Like, we've seen
We
it
need to
change,
find
though.
this Edelgon.
You see that,
Rebuild
right?
your core
And
way.
that's why we be careful when we talk about history, because
I'm willing to be a liaison, if you be willing to speak with her.
You are correct.
Slavery existed in this country, just like, by
Stormlord,
the way, slavery existed
new
in the
directive.
entire globe, but
Take them
it
to
also existed in this
Freywold
country.
Village.
And that's all real. Like, nobody denies that. And if we want to talk about history as history, sure, we can talk about it. But if we're talking about right now in America, systemic racism, which is not to say individual. Again, do racist people still exist? Of course they do. Of all races.
You're right.
So that no one's denying that. Systemic racism, though, means, at least the type that they talk about, means that there's a deliberate.
I have an extended
system-wide
supply of goods for
to discriminate
outlanders.
against, dehumanize, deprive black people because they are black.
Okay.
So when we talk about rates of mortality among women who get childbirth, dying in childbirth, and I've heard the same thing.
I didn't prepare for this as well as I should have, because I didn't know I was going to go there. So forgive me, but I've heard this stuff.
Right,
previously.
I'd have to look at the studies.
Right.
And if we saw that study and we saw that the numbers worked out that way, well, then we have to think about, okay, well, you have a higher number of black women who are, there's a class, economic class issue here, who are higher number of black women who live in the inner city, who are poor. You know, that obviously contributes to the type of medical care you get. I don't
The
deny that.
argument there then would be, well, why are they in this position, and what laws did we pass that would try to break up a black family? Because trust me, I actually don't have guilt about this. I don't feel responsible for this at all. So I really don't appreciate being blamed. If we go all the way back, wait a second, my parents.
Because here's my question: if you take this is really what it comes down to. If you take a white woman from a trailer park in Appalachia somewhere, and you take a black woman from the inner city, and they are both at the hospital asking for painkillers, I think it's very likely that they're going to have a very similar experience. And it's possible that in both cases, they might actually have more difficulty getting painkillers if the medical institution, if the doctors are making assumptions about, well, drug abuse is prevalent in these communities, whether it's a trailer park or inner city, and so that might happen. But that's not racial. It's not race based.
It's a bias. It's a prejudice.
Right. So what I would certainly deny is that systemically in the medical field, for example, you've got medical institutions saying, well, you're black, so we're going to give you worse care. I just don't think that's happening. I don't think there's any evidence of it. And certainly when it comes to our laws, and this is really the main point,